Civilization has one big problem. It's not the in-development user interface. It isn't the need for more maps with greater diversity. In fact, it's none of those real, individual challenges that we've touched on before. It's the big, overarching sticking point. Civilization 7 has a legacy problem. And yes, there's a double entendre here, maybe even a triple one, a triple meaning. You see, new Civ games often follow a thirds approach in designing the next civilization. 1/3, about 33%, stays the same. The next third sees refinement, minor change, and the final third tries something new. And I know firsthand that, hey, change is hard. I get it. And I'm passing no judgment, good, bad, or otherwise. In fact, when Civilization 6 first released, I didn't like it. I'd go as far as to say that it probably took about 4 years and a global pandemic for me to warm up to the game. I find its districts to be an annoyance that Civilization 5, the glorious game, never burdened me with. Too inflexible and rigid. I thought religion was dull, a base game underbaked, and frankly the art style was a little bit too cartoony for my gritty Civ 5 tastes. I know how it feels too often, also, to be disappointed, to have to turn your back on a title and shelve it. Cities 2. And so the legacy problem that I'm word playing with here really is about the franchise's legacy and also about the real in-game mechanics that have soured people on Civ 7, the big one, the changing civilizations, the non-leader Civ combos. Here we are with widely, generally perceived great games these days, Civ 5 and Civ 6. They create a legacy, if you will, of broadly great experiences that have been formed over many years of expansion and innovation, of change and updates. They both set, in my view, an incredibly high bar that has not been met. Though you'll never likely meet it with everyone, and it's okay to have your own favourite Civ game. Please do. On a more practical note, the legacy problem is a very tangible one. The legacy paths are the foundation upon which the 3 ages in Civ 7, the age transitions, and the changing Civs are built. These legacy problems are ones that are fundamental to Civ 7's revised civilization building formula, and that creates a fundamental issue. Now, you'll probably be aware that change is already taking place here, thankfully, especially over the last month or so. And recent updates for Axis have introduced new legacy path settings. These age-based goals can now be disabled, individually or in groupings. Doing so also disables the associated victory condition, some nice customization there at the very least. More changes to the age transitions themselves have also created a smoother experience. Units generally stay put, rather than being pulled back to settlements during that transition. Diplomatic relationships, while not perfect, are more consistent, and a fixed 10 or 20 turn minimum is now in place at the end of each age to prevent those very abrupt endings before the age transition. These are, again, in my view, great steps forward for a better Civilization 7. I like them all. And Firaxis have acknowledged that they've got maybe just a little bit more work to do in this space. Before we talk about the specifics of that work, real quick, this section of the video is sponsored by Elemental Reforged, a Fantasy 4X turn-based strategy game with some glorious RPG world-building elements, starting with your unique custom sovereign. In Elemental Reforged, you build an empire, hunt for magical shards and their powerful spells, and outsmart your many rivals through combat or diplomacy. Building on a rich legacy, Elemental Reforged is built within a remastered 64-bit engine. It offers 3 story-rich campaigns where always your choices will genuinely matter in shaping the uniquely generated world around you, ensuring that no 2 games will ever quite be the same. Elemental Reforged is coming soon, so for now you can check it out using my link down below and wishlist it. Now, let's return to Civilization 7, where I believe the obvious, maybe relatively easy fix, who knows, is to enable a quote-unquote classic mode. Select a civilization and leader, a fixed combo at the start of the game, and play through the game. The ages system would also, of course, need to be tweaked a little bit, or transformed even to reflect this. and it would arguably take away from some of the better elements of Civilization 7. You'll go back to just having your unique unit and having it actually be useful for perhaps 10 or 20% of the game, instead of having one or two even, as well as buildings, of course, in every age. So it would strip back one of Civilization 7's, I believe, greatest strengths, but also deliver that classic experience that so many of you clearly want still to this day. I think perhaps there could also be a little bit of nuance here. Maybe an even better solution is possible. Still perhaps involving a newly introduced classic mode, or a setting at least where Civ leaders and their pairing civilization are fixed, and the gameplay would reflect that classic experience. However, perhaps in this solution, the nuances and progression of Civilization 7 aren't just thrown away. The legacy paths, or rewards as they could be labelled, would remain in some shape or form too, hopefully still with the option to turn them on or off. Why not, I can't help but wonder, take some of the natural combos that already exist and make them fixed ones? Why not take, say, just as an example, because this does already exist in its individual parts, 3 civilizations from the Indian subcontinent, from that history, or China through the ages. Many more pairings are obviously available. Pair them with the one, generally historically accurate leader that is present in Civilization 7 at the moment, and you have yourself not just a fixed one Civ, one leader combo, but a fixed leader with one unifying Civ name, China, India, something generic and recognizable, and then you fill that with the 3 unique versions of it, the 3 unique tellings of that region and of that nation throughout history, and make it one. You keep your unique buildings, you keep your unique districts, you could even keep the ages formula, but you have it under one unified face and banner throughout the game. A little bit more complex than just slapping in a classic mode, choose your leader, choose your Civ. And I think that probably both of them could work. I just can't help but wonder if the solution here is a little bit more complex and hopefully satisfying. Hopefully it can take advantage of Civ 7's already existing differences and nuance, but still deliver that classic, relatable, and crucially consistent experience. With the benefit of hindsight, something else seems fairly straightforward to me. Civilization 7 should have, or at least could have, launched with an early access label. On the one hand, it's just a stick-on label. What does it really mean? Used to say, hey, there's more work to do. On the other, though, it's a commitment to long-term improvement and an acknowledgement of that very fact. Hopefully, with something that they have been doing very well, actually, up till now and hopefully into the future, driven by feedback and change. At a deeper level, though, it makes me think that this kind of, let's say, auto-explore workshopping, where they reach out for that kind of feedback, often community-driven feature change, maybe could have taken place before launch. Where was the straw poll or the beta testing of the ideas then, in those many, many years between Civ 6 and Civ 7? And perhaps if I'm drilling into this just a little bit more, maybe there are other areas that feedback could be focused on instead of a widely used, generally well-liked, though maybe not always acknowledged feature of auto-explore. My point here is that much of the perception of Civ's problems maybe could have had a better fronting. And the early access label is, in my view, sometimes a little bit of a cop-out, but at least an acknowledgement of that. That being said, I don't think it's the silver bullet to any of those sorts of woes. And I also don't think it's needed for a game to be updated and to continue to change post-launch. Some might look down on a game continuing to change and update, but I think it would be very strange, actually, in this day and age, to just release a game and let it run. Even mega successes in recent years, I don't know, something like Baldur's Gate 3, with that label, has thrived under a very open-to-change early access model. Ultimately, that label is just a label. And the other part, the less mechanical, more historical problem in Civilization 7's context, is that aforementioned rich legacy. Every Civ game is despised by a not insignificant portion of the community at launch. Always. And much like how we have our favourite sports team, people tend to have their favourite Civ game that they will always champion. I am no different. And these mainline games, Civ 5 or 6, usually take a few years worth of both unfortunately freed updates and paid expansions to reach their best form. I think that one of the blights of that legacy, actually, is that both Civ 5 and 6 do require, in my view, both of their main DLC packs to be in that truly playable form. Packs like Rise and Fall, Gods and Kings, add actually just core mechanics to the games, not just extra civs. I generally view those extra paid civs as just that. They're optional extras for experts. They'll add more playtime, but you don't need them. The core DLCs, however, always felt necessary to me. And so, as Civilization faces off against this legacy problem, both a historical legacy of greatly successful, widely loved, and slightly different games, as well as its real practical issue of legacies, legacy paths, changing ages, changing civs, and everything that's involved with that deeply embedded legacy mechanic in Civilization 7. Perhaps, though, this is one area where Civ 7 can still actively do better. Here, specifically, I'm talking about that legacy of development. Sure, keep your extra civs. Add them to the game. Add them every few months. Maybe take the Civilization 6 approach. Throw some extra wacky game modes in there or something more for the players. But maybe we could have a Civ game this time around, and an actual success for Civilization 7 where the core mechanics are just that. They are part of a core, not a paid extra. Of course, this part of it is looking a little bit more into the future, and so here, unfortunately, we will have to wait and see how future free updates go, and just how far Firaxis are willing to push both what they add to the game for free versus paid, and also whether they will add that classic Civ mode to fix the second part of Civ's big legacy problem. Thank you very much for watching me today. Somewhat opinionated video. I'm sure the comments section will be golden. Do leave your thoughts down below though, because I do still like to read through all of them. Thank you for being here and watching, and I'll see you next time.